Welcome to Dark Side of the Loom. I'm Tony, and this episode I'm going to be going through my top 10 tips for beginner regital weaving. The last one's quite applicable to life in general, so stick around. These tips are mainly lessons that I learned during the process of my first project, so hopefully I can help you to avoid the same pitfalls that I dropped into. So, let's get started. Number 1, read the manual. If you're building your loom from scratch, or building anything else for that matter, whether it's an IKEA wardrobe or your kid's dollhouse, read the instructions. All of them. Front to back. Because if you don't, I guarantee you'll miss a step, and then you're in for a whole world of hurt. I was very lucky that the step that I missed when I was building my loom wasn't too major, but it could have been a lot worse. Number 2, keep it simple. There's so many amazing patterns and styles that you can use when it comes to weaving, from tartan to houndstooth to double weave, twill, herringbone. The list never ends, but rein in your enthusiasm for just a little bit. You'll get to the complicated ones in time, but for your first project, stick to plain weave until you get the hang of it. Right? I'm a bugger for trying to run before I can walk, and I've wasted hours of effort when learning other things because I decided that I don't need the beginner stuff. I know what I'm doing, and oh dear, it's all gone wrong. So, take your time, build up slowly, you'll get there. Number 3, measure your yarn. If you watched my second video where I warped the loom, you'd have had the fun of seeing me run out of yarn before I actually filled the width of the heddle, because I didn't actually work out how much yarn I had for the project before I started. Hopefully your yarn will have an information label that will help you out here, either one like this, which straight out tells you how much there is in the skein, or one like this, which tells you the approximate weight per 100 meters. Now, if you don't have the information, like the majority of the yarn behind me, you're gonna have to use a table like this and get your calculator out. It's a bit time consuming, I know, but it'll save you from having to play the good old game of yarn chicken. Number 4, 4 hands are better than 2. Right? When it comes time to roll on your warp onto the end of the loom, it's without a doubt easier if there's 2 of you. Now, that's not always possible, I understand that, but if you've got the option, get someone to help you out. Right? The first couple of times you do it are going to be awkward and fiddly enough as it is, without having to try and keep the tension, neatening the threads, rolling it on all at once. In a future video, I'll be trying out some solo warping techniques, but for now, get some assistance if you can. Number 5, rolling the warp. Now, leading on from number 4, when you're rolling the warp onto the loom, you need to keep the layers separate, otherwise they'll end up dropping through and it'll cause all sorts of issues with the tension of your work. On my first outing, I used the supplied cardboard strips, and quite frankly, it didn't go well. I didn't space them out correctly, and the final result of my scarf was somewhat lumpy. Now, most of the weavers that I've seen here on YouTube, instead of using card strips, use a roll of brown paper. This means that the layers are kept completely separate, rather than just portions of it, and it's definitely going to be the technique that I'll be using next time. Number 6, tension. Now that you've got the warp wound on, and you've had the fun and games of feeding the threads through the heddle, it's time to tie on the other end. Now, there are plenty of different ways of doing this. You can start at one end and work your way across, or you can start in the middle and work your way out. At the end of the day, it's whatever you find easiest to do. But you need to go back over all the groups that you've tied up and all the knots and check them a few times to make sure that they all have the same tension. Taking that extra bit of time at this point will save them so many headaches later. If you watch my second video, I show you how to do the surgeon's knot, which is ideal for this part because you can do a quick tie on and then you can go over it again properly, make sure that it's all lovely and even, and then tie them off properly. Number 7, get comfortable. Right? Home weaving isn't exactly the most labour intensive of hobbies, but it will take up quite a bit of time. So it's important to get yourself space where you can work easily for a good couple of hours in one go. Make sure you've got space to get the shuttle in and out of the shed without having to shuffle around too much or moving your arms too much. Try and keep yourself nice and relaxed, right? And we don't want any bad backs from people hunching over the work. Number 8, the hem stitch. Now, in the last video, I went through how to do the hem stitch, and I would definitely suggest doing the first edge at the beginning while you've got it all under tension, rather than waiting until the end to do it. I had to wind the scarf onto the far side of the loom in order to keep it taut, which was such an annoying delay when I was so close to finishing. So take that little bit of time at the beginning to get it done, and you'll be thanking yourself later. Number 9, consistency. So different weavers have their own take on how to beat the weft. Some will do a couple of taps, others will do one firm pull. Have a practice, find out what works for you. But when you do start a piece, stick with the approach that you started with. If you end up chopping and changing partway through, it'll end up showing in the weave as separate areas, and that really could mess up the look that you're trying to go for. Number 10, be proud. Right, whether it takes you a week, a month, or a year to get your first piece made, it doesn't matter, you still made it. Be proud of yourself, you made it. You took the time to have a crack at it, and no one else can take that away from you. It's very easy to get intimidated by the work that professionals can make. Not just in weaving, but in art, music, pottery, interpretive dance, anything like that. They seem to approach it with ease and grace and create the most wonderful things without even trying. Well, here's a secret for you. When they first started, they were crap too. So what if it's not perfect? As Bob Ross always said, there's no mistakes, just happy little accidents. All right? It's all a learning process. So every achievement you make, every improvement you do, be proud. The harshest critic you'll ever meet is yourself. So give yourself a break. Allow yourself to be chuffed with what you've done. You deserve it. So there it is, my top 10 top tips for beginner weavers. I hope it was helpful for you. Hopefully you'll be able to avoid some of the issues that I had. And as always, look after yourself, look after others, and I'll catch you next time.